Danny.
Hello.
Hello. What do you reckon?
It was Kenta at the end, becoming the biggest heel in the world.
Oh, Danny, what were they doing?
They
Oh,
were, they were doing what you call fantastic booking, young Daniel.
No. They could have saved that for tomorrow.
Fantastic booking.
Oh, no, I know you're just saying it because you love Kenta, right?
No, it's not. It's a chase. You're talking out your bum.
What really, Danny? That story called for Naito to have confetti raining down on him, celebrating. It's what all these fans have wanted for years. And for Kenta, they could have just done that tomorrow at New Year's Dash. It completely took away from the moment.
Do you remember the G1 Supercard? And do you remember how excited you weren't sitting next to me this time? But do you remember how excited I was when Jushin Thunder Liger was looking across the ring from the Muta, final for a shot at the ROH World title, I think it was as well. And then that little prick Kenny King come in and ruined it all. I laughed because it was funny. It was what they did was funny, and it was to get the crowd aggravated, and it did. And
but Danny, you don't need to do that at your WrestleMania.
This is just doing that times 100.
No, they did not need to do it at WrestleMania.
These people are these little LIJ fans turning up with all the hipster stuff at Rev Pro and proper LIJ fans. And then all of a sudden, just as you're about to get all the cannons and the confetti, fucking Kenta comes in and fucks it up for them. Yes, boy, this is what
WWE. That is WWE. Let's not have the feel-good moment to end the big show. Let's have someone come in and get some heat, right? I'm taking you back to when we walked out of WrestleMania 34.
Just good booking.
No, it's not, because everyone's leaving that arena deflated. The Tokyo Dome, whatever, they're leaving it deflated, and that's not how you end the biggest show.
Naito still won the two championships.
I know, but it sort of just sucks the air out. You seem like, I don't know what I like. For me, you've had all year, Danny, right? They've had all year. I'm not even a Naito fan. I like his work, whatever, but I wanted Okada to win that match, right? But I was like sensible enough to have the fact that Naito, the story warranted Naito to win. Yeah. So all year, I'm laughing thinking about it, but all year they've been fucking with these Naito fans, these LIJ fans, as you put it, right? By teasing that he's not going to be in. They had him lose the G1 when everyone thought he was going to win. They're having him lose matches to Taichi. And all I'm reading is LIJ fans fuming. And then after doing that all year, they finally gave him the moment and just whisked the carpet away right from under him. Oh, I felt for him. I think Naito Kenta's good though, because it is like, I'm not annoyed at all that Kenta came out. I think it just should have been saved for tomorrow. But like, it's a great direction to take it. It's fresh in it. There's no Okada in the title scene. You've got Naito and Kenta, which I think is a fresh match. I don't think they've done it since Kenta's been back. You've also got, what's Jay White going to think of this? Someone else from the Bullet Club challenging Naito. You've got Shibata looming in the background of the story. So it's great going forward. I just thought they should have had I put it on Twitter and I put it in our WhatsApp, Danny. It'd be like Chris Benoit winning that title at Mania 20. And then you'd have, like, I don't know, Maven coming out and attacking him.
Here's an even better comparison. It's especially in terms of symbolism, the two belts, Daniel Bryan, the way he won at 30.
Oh, I forgot that.
He won at 30 after going through all these struggles, after fighting earlier on the card, after the Occupied Raw movements, trying to get him into the main player spot, and then all of a sudden he lifts up the belt, and then from nowhere Triple H takes him out just before the celebration, or Brock Lesnar takes him out just before the celebration at the end, and totally rude. That would have been great.
No.
Fantastic.
Imagine if we hadn't got that moment of Brian stood on the like when I think of top 5 moments.
He stood on the table with his two belts, and then from nowhere Brock comes and attacks him. Oh yes, man.
That's be the Booker, fantasy Booker stuff. I was disappointed in Gator with that. I really was. I didn't think it was his sort of booking either.
Not in the least bit asked.
No, but it wasn't though how he normally
I'm,
books stuff.
I'm very disappointed. I'm not angry. Oh, fucking hell.
But it
Oh,
did. It. What did you think of the actual match? I've not even asked you.
really good.
Oh,
Really
thank
good.
God.
I think it's. I think it would be hard to say the last two matches saved the show in terms of pulling it out from mediocrity, but it certainly did the way it certainly tried to. Um, the match itself was everything I expect from an Okada night. What I expect from an Okada and Naito, no injuries on top form match, and we all know he's got injuries that have built up. So to be able to pull that off was absolutely fantastic. I thought.
Yeah, it was brilliant. It was the best night out match in a long time. But I'm not gonna lie to you, Danny. Right? I'm sat there. I enjoyed Tanahashi Jericho. Yeah, I did enjoy it. But I'm sat there, right, and I'm scrolling through my phone because that's what I do when I get a bit bored, right? And I'm reading the reactions like, oh, Suzuki Saber have such great chemistry, and oh, that was such a great match between Goto and Kenta. And I'm thinking, yeah, it was good, but like it's not great. And I'm thinking, is wrestling passed me by? Am I watching matches that I'm thinking, yeah, they were good, but everyone else is saying it's great? It happens when I'm watching a WWE show. I'll watch like a match and I think, yeah, it was good that. And I'll go on Twitter and people are like, this is why Vince McMahon knows what he's doing. This is why WWE's great. And then and I'm sat there and I'm thinking, has wrestling passed me by? Like, seriously, everyone's making out this Wrestle Kingdom show has been great. And for me, it's been disappointing. And then the great man comes out. Okada comes out and just gives me that. And I'm sat on the edge. I have a chair, Danny, with a little footstool in front of it. And by the last 5 minutes of that match, I'm off my chair and I'm leaning off the little footstool at the end, invested. I'm thinking, yeah, this is why I love wrestling. But I think I genuinely, Okada Naito, I think it did save the show. I really do. Also think, which is funny, if you'd have had Okada win that match, everyone would have been shitting on the show. But because the guy who won, that everyone wanted to win's won, it's like, yay, great show, best pay per view ever. But it
No, I
was,
don't, when I said save the show, I wanted to make sure it was save the show from mediocrity
yeah,
because before that it was just mediocre. And don't forget as well, I'm not being elitist here when I say this. This for many could be the first time they're watching New Japan. Right, so everything's totally different. You know, you've been through this yourself. We all have. Everything's totally different to what you're used to watching. So we've been watching it for a certain amount of time, and we expect a certain standard. I think certain matches did hit that standard, and I think certain matches didn't. But for somebody who's viewing this fresh, because they've said it a couple of times, they've had thousands and thousands and thousands of new subscribers to New Japan World. Hence, I'm sure we'll get round to the server being overloaded. So there's a lot of new eyes on this product today. So when you're looking at Twitter and you're seeing these things that you can't really understand from your point of view, it might be because there's just new eyes on the product.
yeah, I suppose. Yeah, I suppose because I'm used to seeing a lot higher level, I think, from the Wrestle Kingdom show,
Yeah.
certainly. But it, I don't know. I want to start on a
Okay.
positive, really. But
Yeah, no, I mean,
to say
what was the last WWE pay per view? The one that wasn't bad was a TLC.
I didn't watch it, Survivor Series, I thought that was all right.
Okay, well, let's say Survivor. So you say that I remember being quite happy with the last WWE pay per view, but imagine watching going from that and you think, well, I might give this New Japan a try, especially if you've been watching a little bit of AEW as well, and they might have linked in. And you come over to this where it's a lot more. Even the presentation's a lot more sports based. Um, so I think that could have been one of the mitigating factors towards it. People have enjoyed it just purely because it's a new experience for them.
Yeah, but I know what you're trying to say. But I'd say the main event, I thought it was great. Do you think it was match of the weekend? And not, did you have one of the ones from yesterday?
Yeah, no, I've got a match of the weekend.
Yeah, I
Uh,
think it was light years ahead of the two. From you in terms of stories. I remember yesterday saying to you on the show yesterday. If you've not listened to that, by the way, go and check it out. But I was saying to you, the work that Jay White did on Naito's knee. gives
Yeah,
Okada a great opportunity, and that was basically what most of the opening part of the match, even the end. Danny, when if someone's spending 10, 15 minutes working on a knee, yeah, and then in the last few minutes it plays a big factor into the match that they've got. Do you know what I mean? That makes the opening 15 minutes where they've been working on it worthwhile. So, like, I think it was yesterday you said that was it Lance Archer and John Moxley match was like working on the leg in the opening start at the start of the match, and then it never
yeah.
played into the finish. So that's where it's like that is a waste of time. But when it plays such a big part, do you know what I mean? Like the ending of this match linked into part of the Naito Jay White match from yesterday, which in a sense makes that match better from yesterday for me. But I don't know, I just thought
Yeah,
it was a great match, great storytelling in the match. Naito was back to borderline his best. Kevin Kelly's call on the Destino was unbelievable.
it's brilliant. Hey, I'll tell you what, one of the most underrated commentators of his generation, Kevin Kelly, and he's been doing it for a long time as well.
He's the best.
Um, I love listening to him, and I've got to be honest with you. The whole commentary team there, they've made me laugh a couple of times. It's a hard act to follow when you've got to replace Don Callis, because if he wasn't a political advisor, as was his real job, or a wrestling promoter or commentator, then he would have been a comedian, because that boy he makes people laugh. Um, so to replace him, and do it seamlessly as well. They've got to give big ups on the commentary on both nights as well.
Yeah, definitely. I think Gino did a great job. Usually, I do prefer Rocky Romero to him, but I thought he was great, Gino,
Hmm.
on these two shows. But yeah, what did you go on the main event star ratings
But
wise?
sorry,
Five.
mate. Just to finish there, even Rocky Romero as well.
Oh, Rocky
Can't say
Romero,
him in
great.
the team. What did they go on the main event? 4.5.
Right,
I
fair.
really enjoyed him.
Yeah, I went 4.75. Yeah, so that was both of our highest scores of the weekend. But yeah, it was just a part of me. I did think if Okada wins, like I said to you, it makes sense of him being 32. Do you know what I mean? But if you think about it, like who else would there have been for forward after this? What would there really have been for Okada? You know, like who if he can beat Naito, who else is there really left that he hasn't already faced? We've seen him face Sonada, Evil. We've seen him face everyone for this belt. So I think it does give a new direction for New Japan going into the upcoming months, having Naito win. But it was just great. The knee work was great. What I love, Danny, yeah, sometimes in these New Japan main events, well, most of the time, you'll have the pace in the last 5 minutes is just frantic in it. It's
Yeah.
fast, really fast. But what they did, they made it creative by having finisher kickouts and stuff, but they worked at a really slow pace while they were doing it. It
Mm.
wasn't like fast. You know, say like you think of the last 5 minutes of an Osprey match, it was like in slow motion compared to that. But they didn't need to do it fast. The people were invested, and it was the loudest you heard the Tokyo Dome all weekend. Okada's just got some magic in him in these main events to get the crowd in. And when they
Yeah.
were booing him, I was thinking, you fickle bastards. Obviously, the
No, I mean,
story calls for him to be booed, but at the same time, I thought, how can you boo that man?
but you say the crowd was a lot louder because of the way he lifted them up. And there was 10,000 less people in the crowd today, as we discussed. So, and you're saying that's the loudest they've been all weekend, and it's right. And yet there was 10,000 less people there today than there was yesterday.
I wonder why that was. I wonder why there was
I
10,000 less. No, not as
I
many
think
matches advertised. I don't know.
I think it may be a cultural thing. Before Wrestle Kingdom, the big show of the year was, I think it was just known as, it went through a few different names, but it was always known as the January 4th at the Dome.
Yeah,
Um, I think it's like a bank holiday, a public bank holiday in Japan at around this time. So it's always ingrained probably into their minds, into their culture. 4th of July, 4th of their January at the Tokyo Dome, and that's going to be the big day. Where obviously it was very different this year.
yeah. Sort of like for us, when I say 4th of January to you, you're probably going to think, well, if you weren't a wrestling fan, if you said 4th of January to a big football fan over it, you'd think, oh, it's probably FA Cup weekend. Um, But yeah, it was I still thought 10,000. I was expecting sort of more than that, but I was thinking
No,
maybe
there was 10,000 less than the day before. So there was
that's what I meant. What did I
40.
say? More.
You were expecting more than 10,000. Sorry. So there was, just for clarification for everyone, there was 40,000 on yesterday, and there was 30,000 today.
Yeah, I was expecting more than 30,000, but I think
Yeah.
maybe if they'd have had, I don't know, maybe if I think Okada Naito is a big drawing match in Japan, or I'd like to think it is. So maybe if they'd have had a little bit more time, to promote it, then maybe you
Yeah.
would have seen like maybe like I suppose it did make more sense to have the bigger match on the lesser known date of the two on January 5th. But yeah, it was just a great match. I mean, I think we said yesterday that Ibushi, Okada, and Ospreay Hiromu probably won't be up there in match of the year contenders in our list at the end of the year, but I think this one will, especially for the moment afterwards. Where he's won the title. And it meant it wasn't like just an Okada retain. It was a big moment. Naito finally winning. Well, the first ever double champion.
Yeah, and obviously the actual big news of the night when Kenta come out and smashed Naito.
I
The best.
can't believe. Why did they not save that? Do you genuinely think it was good booking to have it tonight and not tomorrow, or are you just winding me up?
No, I genuinely think they've been, as you said, they've been teasing the storyline, and he's been held down so many times. Naito, where the fans even voted against seeing him in a world title match. Um, and it's been one hell of a thing for him, and he really, really deserved. He really deserved that proper celebration, and the fact that it was denied to him just adds to the story going forward for me.
But you're never gonna get that moment back again. There's never
He's
gonna
the
be a coronation.
he's the first double champion. He doesn't need the coronation.
Didn't need an angle. Did it? Well, I will agree to disagree, but I passionately think that was bad booking. But I'm not saying it won't work in months' time. Do you know what I mean? The angle's hot going in where it maybe wouldn't have been if they'd have done it tomorrow. I just think that moment should have
We're
been left
talking about
well
it.
alone. But yeah, as I say, I've not looked, but I'm guessing Kenta is one of the top trends in wrestling Twitter right now. But yeah, as we say, it's saved. We've talked about the positives. The positive for me, this was as we said, we were meant to go to Wrestle Kingdom. This is the one match. Say if we go next year, I think it would have been great to have been there for that Okada Naito match with the excellent ending of Kenta making the interference. Imagine me and you if we'd have been sat there live. I'd have been fuming, and you
We
would have
end
been
up throwing punches
celebrating.
at each other.
Oh, flipping heck. Do you know what I did notice, which just makes me like, just shows out what difference Japan is? So it showed the crowd when Naito wins the belt, and they're all just sat down clapping. Like at cricket, someone's just like hit a four or something, and everyone's just politely applauding.
Yeah.
You're not going to see like wild celebrations, are you? Can you imagine if Neil was smack bang in the middle of them? Limbs.
No, yeah, it is again different culture, doesn't it? It's
Yeah.
you look at the I think me and you when we were at Royal Quest, we talk very much about the crowd and how involved the crowd were in those matches and in that whole show. And it was something completely different. I think there's space for every different type of crowd. You know what I mean? Just as there should be.
Yeah, cool. To me, I know like they're never going to do it because of money and stuff like that. I'd just be happy having every New Japan show in Korakuen Hall. I think that for me, watching wrestling at that venue, even on TV, is just brilliant.
Yeah,
Like it's Japanese crowd, but it's always hot. Like a lot of the matches, Danny, you could hear a pin drop in the building. Obviously different for the last two, but some of it. I mean, I suppose you do get that in these dome stadium venues, as we've experienced plenty at WrestleManias. But
yeah, it's cavernous as well. The Tokyo Dome. It's it's a baseball stadium. So it's an odd shape. So even where we've been in stadiums which are open air, there can still be acoustics where the way the sound bounces off things. With a baseball stadium, I don't know whether that carries.
yeah, I know what you mean. I'm trying to think. We've not been to one at a baseball stadium, have we? I think they've done a Royal
Uh,
Rumble at one. I think this is at a
it
baseball
is,
stadium in a few weeks.
it is, and the last one was as well.
Yeah. But anyway, so we spoke about, well, the biggest positive on the show. So now we're going to change it up. So you've had 20 minutes of us being positive. Yeah, me being positive. But let's start with how your morning started, Danny. So let's take you back to 5:30 this morning when my alarm went. I went on WhatsApp. You're up, and I'm thinking, out of all the people I thought would have slept in, it would have been you. And you're up. This gauntlet match is good. That was the first thing that I saw this morning.
Yeah,
So
well, it was. I was excited after yesterday because I knew we were going to get better than what we had yesterday. And as we discussed on the other podcast, the fact that they're having a gauntlet match means that they're not having to do all these 8-man tags. And actually, I found it just really fun. There's no having to think too much about it. They were in and they were out, and even for a gauntlet match for that many teams in, I think it only went about 20 minutes, and it didn't seem to me that it went that long. So it's obviously been a fun match if it goes a lot quicker than you expected it to.
yeah, so you say Lij won that match?
Say again.
Lij won that match, yeah?
Yeah, yeah, yes, yeah. So it was a bit sad for Shingo seeing him on a pre-show, but at least he won the title. And when you see the Lij in the future, it always looks nice when obviously Naito's going to have the two titles and the other titles are going to be spread around a little bit.
Yeah,
I think it's only Sonata that won't have one.
thank God.
So yeah, it was really good, really entertaining, straight out the back. So you got up about 5:30, did you, mate? Yeah.
Yeah, I sat there and contemplated life, and then I thought, right, I better go and make a brew. So went downstairs, made a brew, got it on. I'm sat there, Danny, and I'm half asleep, and I'm watching this Liger match, and I'm thinking, a year ago when they announced that Liger was going to have a year-long retirement tour, I thought they've got plenty of time to build some up. They built up the feud with Suzuki really good, didn't they? Yeah, I thought they set up great. They had Suzuki win the first match, and I thought, oh, they're going to have the rematch where maybe Liger goes out with a win at Wrestle Kingdom or even a loss, whatever. And then I'm watching this tag match, just thinking, it's thrown together. Like the crowd as well, they didn't seem as like loud and as emotional as I thought it'd be. I don't know if it's because I just woke up or whatever, but I was just a bit disappointed, a bit. And I was even thinking maybe like, I don't know. And then what happened, Danny? This is where the morning really started to unfold. We've just seen Liger lose. The moment everyone's been waiting for. Liger retires. And what happens?
Well, so literally as soon as the spread both the spread over him as he was lying there, and we think we were about to get something quite emotional. I sat forward in my chair, and all of a sudden the stream went fucking off.
Yeah, same here. I was sat there and I thought, I even at this point, I was still led in bed and I panicked and I thought, there must be no Wi-Fi in my room. So I unplugged my laptop, sprinted downstairs, shoved it into the TV downstairs, and then I looked on WhatsApp and you two were like, streams down. And I thought, flipping heck. But yeah, and then it came back on. For me, I just saw Liger led on his back, and then it comes back on, and I've got Show and Yo coming down to the ring. We were talking earlier with the old card and night match and the rest of the show that yeah, you have a lot of new. Do you know what I mean? A lot of new people, and this is not a good experience, is it for them? Do you know what I mean? They're probably wondering what's going on.
No, it's
But
not a good. It's not a good experience. Um, you, you I tried it. I was on the Xbox. I have it on the Xbox. Primarily when I'm watching it, I'm in the back room because it's early and not disturbing anyone. So from there, I checked that works off Microsoft Edge. So I thought I'll try it from different browsers. So I checked it off my phone on Chrome. Still wasn't working. So I even went in and put it on my Amazon Fire Stick in the other room. And again, just getting nothing, nothing. And then eventually, after trying to log in numerous times, closing browsers down, deleting cookies, going back in, because obviously a lot of people were saying, I was only down for 5 minutes and then I come back on. But it wasn't like that for everyone. I missed the whole of the Roppongi 3K and Bullet Club Ishimori and Phantasmo match, and I'm literally caught the last 2 minutes of Zack Sabre Jr. and Sonada. So I think in that respect, mate, you're going to have to take over from me from this one.
Yeah, I mean, I just want
Oh,
to talk about it. Go on.
Yeah, go on, sorry, mate.
No, I just want to talk about it a little bit more, and the fact that I've seen a lot of people. If this was WWE, yeah, let's
Yeah.
face it, and you missed two matches on a pay per view, and a lot of people did, they'd be getting absolutely slaughtered. And I'm reading it on Twitter, and people are like, oh, do you know what I mean? Oh, thanks New Japan for like sorting this out for us. And I'm thinking, people in the States might see New Japan as like, oh, it's just like a niche company. They're not. They're a massive company in Japan. They're running stadiums. Do you know what I mean? They're probably killing it in merch sales. I don't think it's any excuse to not have a server that can get the show working properly. Look at Royal Quest, Danny. I know that was more of a Fight TV issue, but the Royal Quest show, that happened for the first 2 or 3 matches. The sound was off. They had the whole fiasco in what was it, the Hammerstein Ballroom in New York in September. This is a running theme, and I think for a company the size of New Japan, you know what I mean? They're the top wrestling company in Japan. I don't think it's good enough, especially if you're trying to launch into the States. Yeah, people don't like. What time was it in the States? In the in the eastern part, it was what, 1 a.m. Do you want to be that straight at 1 a.m.? You're just gonna think, oh sod it, I'm going to bed. I'm not messing about with this at 1:30 in the morning. So, and then I read a tweet from I think Chris Charlton, and this made me think. This was on Friday, and it was like, make sure you get onto New Japan World early because there'll be a lot of people on it, and we you might have some buffering issues. And I'm thinking, no, you're charging me money for this. I'm paying money. I shouldn't have to get up an hour earlier at 4 a.m. to get my browser open for it to work. Do you know what I mean? And then you were up earlier than anyone, and yours is the one you got kicked out. I came in about an hour later, and you're the one who got kicked out. But
Well, it's just it is. I mean, look, the thing is that people saying about if this was WWE, there would have been huge kickoffs. They're right. There would have been, and WWE, you've got to give them their credit, would have handled it. In fact, it probably wouldn't have even gone down to the extent that it did in the first place. You've got to give them credit where it's due. They are very, very good with things like that. And they'd probably give refunds to anyone who complained as well, whereas I don't think New Japan will. The thing is, there's a certain amount of goodwill that's been given to New Japan, the company, by fans, because with myself and with many others, when WWE were the only game in town, New Japan gave us another game to play. So there's a certain amount of, well, we'll probably kick off at that if it was WWE, but because it's New Japan, I won't. It wasn't good enough, and you're right. This is a historical issue. This hasn't just happened at Wrestle Kingdom. It's good news that it's happened because it means that more people subscribing to the services. But as you say, how many people of those new subscribers are going to be put off? And let's be honest, it's not the easiest website to use.
no, definitely not. For me, I've been using it for years now, and even I was sat trying to find. I can't think what I was trying to find the other night, and I'm thinking it shouldn't be this hard. But yeah, as I say, it's people in the States I think might view New Japan as this, like I said, niche company. But they're not. If this happened in say a Progress or a Rev Pro, yeah, you can complain, but it's more understandable. But when it's a big company like New Japan, it's just for me not acceptable, like we said.
Yeah.
But it's like
No,
I'm sat there watching it, and I'm thinking to myself, "Oh, do you know what I mean?" I'm trying to think to myself, "How can I sort Danny out?" I'm reading through Twitter what problems people are going through, so it's affecting my experience for it's working. Do you know what I mean? Stuff like that. But how many matches did you miss? You come back for
missed
the
it too. I missed the tag the Bullet Club versus Roppongi 3K for the tag belts, and I also missed all but the last 2 minutes of Zack Sabre Jr. and Sonada. So it's always a pleasure to watch Show and Young, and Ishimori and El Phantasmo, I've got to be honest. So that was a bit of a shame, but I can go back and watch it. probably after I've got this horrible derby out the way today.
Right. You don't need to do that, Danny. It was a good match, but it's a match that, like, do you know what I mean? That we'll probably see this level of match at most indie shows at WrestleMania weekend. Do you know what I mean? It was like your 3-star match. It was good. It was good for what it was, but it was like we say, it was never meant to be a 4-star great match. It was just good. It got the titles on Shoyo. It was fine. I enjoyed it. Then Suzuki Sonada against Sabre. Now, it's no secret I don't like Sonada. I think he's a decent worker, but I think he lacks charisma. He's not someone I'd want to share a pint with, put it that way, right? But his matches with Sabre, they had a really good match together at the G1, so I thought, you know what, I'll give it a chance. And I thought, yeah, it's all right, this. Maybe 8 minutes in. And I'm thinking, yeah, they brought up the reversals, the roll-up flash pins that they used into some of the previous matches. And then it just ended. And I thought, it was like 8 minutes, and I'm thinking, hold on a sec, you've had like a 20-minute match on countless shows this year. I didn't really want to see an 8-minute match. And that's me. I didn't want to see an 8-minute Sonada match. I wanted this to go longer. I just felt it was disappointing. It was, I don't know, I wouldn't give it higher than 3 stars. I was disappointed with it. A wrestler as great as Zack Sabre Jr. on a 2-day Wrestle Kingdom, I want to see get more than an 8-minute single match. But at least Sonada didn't win. That's one positive. But yeah, you didn't really miss anything in this 45 minutes. But at the same time, again, Danny, when you came back on, I think you was down for about 40 minutes, right? It was 9 minutes past 7 our time when you came back on. Because I remember looking at the clock and I thought, we're an hour and 9 minutes into a Wrestle Kingdom. And I still don't feel like I've seen a match that's got me. And it was the same case yesterday with the opening hour and a half. I do think the opening couple of hours of the show yesterday, I probably enjoyed more than today. Because at least I wasn't expecting that to be good. Whereas the matches, I thought, yeah, there's some good potential here. What was your first match back? Was it Moxley against Juice?
Yeah, it was. It was. I'll be honest with you, I thought it was no right match.
Yeah.
But 2.5 stars. Just it was just there. It did the job.
It was a TV match. It was like a TV match you could see on AEW. It was fine. It was a fine 10-minute match. That was it. Nothing more, nothing less.
The one thing that did surprise me, and I really was surprised, the fact that Moxley held the title. And I think even Kevin Kelly alluded to it in his commentary. He said, if you thought this was just a few shots and then done for Jon Moxley in New Japan, you're severely mistaken. I thought, well, that's good news. And then, obviously, Suzuki made his way and the crowd went wild. Things got a bit heated there. He come in, decks Moxley, and it looks like we're heading into a Moxley versus Suzuki match, and I am all for that.
Yeah, it's going to be great, isn't it? I mean, for me, I messaged you and I put this on Twitter. Like, everyone was buzzing, like, oh, Moxley-Suzuki feud starting. But as I watched the Road to Tokyo show, I think it was the Tag League show about a month ago, and Moxley beat down Suzuki. You know what I mean? He came out and beat down Suzuki. So for me, I was thinking, oh, I actually thought maybe this will happen today. And then when Suzuki comes out, takes his tracksuit off, I'm thinking, oh, we're getting it now. But instead, I'm not a fan of building to future shows with angles on your biggest show of the year. Could have been saved for New Year's Dash because it got my hopes up that the two were going to have a match. If I was in the building, it's sort of like that time when they announced The Rock versus John Cena after the fans had watched Cena versus The Miz. They announced The Rock versus John Cena at next year's WrestleMania. I remember thinking, I bet them fans who were in Atlanta, wherever it was, were thinking, are they taking the piss? But,
yeah. I think it was even more of a tease when the bell rang.
I know. Oh.
Brilliant.
At least we might see it next year if we go.
Well, there you go. You see, the next match I was really pleased with, but it wasn't. I never expected this to be more. Keeping on back to these fucking star systems. I never expected this to be more than a 4-star match, and I think what we got was probably a 3 3/4 star match. It was Hiroki Goto versus Kenta. And Hiroki Goto goes over for the never open weight belt. Really, really decent match. Started getting me involved for the last 3 matches.
Yeah, it was a good match when it was like it was the sort of style you'd expect from a New Japan style match. It was really one of the first ones on the show that was like that was a New Japan match. I felt I would have liked it to have gone a bit longer, but I say they're not going to give loads of time to everything. But I think these two could have a really, really good match if say given 25 minutes in the main event of like, do you know what I mean? One of the lesser
Yeah,
shows.
again, I said it yes after yesterday. Hiroki Goto looks absolutely
Yeah.
fantastic, absolutely fantastic.
I think for me, Danny, right? So you go back to a couple of years ago at Wrestle Kingdom. I think it was the one with Omega and Jericho. So on that show, yeah, you had a great double main event, didn't you? You had Omega, Jericho, Okada, Naito, yeah.
Yes.
But there was a match that was Goto Suzuki. I talked about it yesterday. So that was a match that going into it, people were like, "Oh, it's a bit stupid this hair versus hair match. It'll be all right, or whatever." I don't think anyone expected it to be like great. They just thought it'd be like we would have thought Goto versus Kenta would have been today. It'll be good, but that'll be it. But that was like one of the matches of the year. And for me, when I think of Wrestle Kingdoms, I think the matches that sometimes you might not think will be great are great, and we didn't really have any of that. I don't know. There was no.
Yeah,
I don't know. Normally, you think Wrestle Kingdom, everyone's going at their best. They're all giving it the best or whatever. They're not saving it for a match in a few months. And I felt like there was a lot of that going on over the course of the 2 days. Like, from a fan point of view, if I go next year, I want it to be 2 days. But for the fans sat at home, I'd sooner it just be one day and let's get all the good matches on one show.
yeah. I think that we spoke and said, well, they might not know how to book it, and then we as fans may not know how to view it. And I think that was prevalent over the course of the 2 days. So we'll see what happens going forward. Do you think they'll do it again?
Yeah, I think they will because what was it? Say 70,000 fans.
Mm.
They're gonna be able to if they do it again. They probably won't have this semi-final on night one, final on night two. They'll probably just go with that's the main event for night one. That's the main event for night two. Let's promote it like hell for months and let's get as many people into the building as possible. Do you know what I mean? Instead of it's question mark versus question mark in the main event. I think that's where they might have slipped up in terms of selling tickets.
Yeah, I think what it can do as well. I think what if it was to happen again, what I'd like to see is I would like to see maybe less matches but longer matches. It
Yeah,
seems to be a
that's what I
continuing
thought we
theme.
was getting with a 2 day thing. Like last year, all
Yeah,
the matches were like 10 minutes and stuff, and we was like, oh well, they'll get more time next year, and it didn't really work like that.
no, it didn't. And I think going from what we've been saying over these matches, I think we've all wanted a bit more time. So they don't have. They probably realise they don't have to throw everyone on each card. I think we could probably do without some of the 8-man tag matches from the first day. So let's let's see what they've learned, and if they go ahead and do it again next year, I think it'll probably be a much stronger card all over. I mean, we didn't have Will Ospreay on today. Fantastic, fantastic. There's guys that we were talking about who didn't have any singles matches that really could have added to one day or another. You know what I mean? Do you remember when you watched most of it, and I hardly watched any? But do you remember when the G1 was announced this past year,
Yeah,
and you looked at the brackets, and one of them, I think bracket A was like the real blue chippers, the ones that could go, the wrestlers, and then you look at Group B, it was the fighters. There was two different dynamics amongst both blocks. Um, and I think you can work something like that into a 2 day card. You can have one day for the fighters, you can have another one for the wrestlers, or you can mix them all up and put them in different spots where you're giving everyone a little bit of everything. I'd like to see more of Toro Yano over the weekend because his matches break things up. But when
yeah.
he's constantly in the tag matches, he gets a little part of a little part of a little part. So yeah, we'll see what happens next year.
Well,
We'll,
usually we'd
we'll,
know, wouldn't we? Usually they always announce the Wrestle Kingdom show for the next year, but it wasn't in the video package. You know where they announced the schedule?
well, this is another thing, isn't it? I didn't see the video package because I'd slipped up to the loo, but I noticed that when I come back down, you and You and Neil have been talking about it. So I have had a little look on the New Japan site, and it's not actually saying much about any upcoming shows just at the moment.
They announced
What do you
everything
remember?
up till the G1 in October. So they announced the G1 for October. You got the return of Sakura Genesis because last year they didn't have it, did they? Because they had the MSG show. That was it. But there was a big noticeable gap, I think, from
Well,
Dominion to
isn't
the G1.
right?
They're going to do a show in the UK, aren't they? Because they put a tweet up saying international fans, there is more to come. Do you know what I mean? They put a tweet up saying that after they aired the video. So I'm guessing we'll get a show in the US and a show in the UK probably in August, July time. Because I say
Well,
after Dominion, the schedule was pretty blank.
Sakura Genesis is actually whilst we're in
March
Tampa.
31st, isn't it?
Yeah.
So is that actually while we're in? Yeah. What day do we fly to Tampa?
So
30.
we fly on the Monday the 30th, and then we'll be there on the Tuesday night, and so it'll be like 1 o'clock in the morning there, I think.
Oh, should we get Chris to drive us?
To Japan. No, I don't know. We'll try and sort something out to watch that while we're over there. Providing we're not getting shot at.
Yeah. Like we're not watching enough wrestling that weekend as well.
Yeah, it's true. Anyway, they go back to where we were up to. Jay White and Kota Ibushi.
Do we have to talk about this? The wooden spoon match, the England-Belgium of Wrestle Kingdom. It was. I thought that this was a number one contenders match, but I didn't notice the commentators mention it. So
I think everyone kind of assumes it was a number one contenders match because.
Well, flipping out, they could have. Do you know what I mean? They could have. I don't know. Why is this match third from top on day 2 of the Tokyo Dome? John, we've already seen enough Jay White. We saw Ibushi lose last night. They could have put in this spot Ishii versus Shingo. Why are we having Ibushi versus Jay White? Bad booking. It was just not needed to be there. And the match, the crowd, this is where the crowd were at the lowest. The crowd did not care about this match. You could hear the groans when Gado's getting involved with all the shenanigans. Do we really need shenanigans in a wooden spoon match? No, we don't. The only good thing about this match was Jay White's stumble before the Blade Runner, which I loved. But apart from that, it just, it had no right to be there.
I'd have had Bad Luck Fale and Yoshihashi in this spot.
I'd have enjoyed that more.
Okay, so moving on.
I went on Grapple, Danny, after I'd watched it, and the average was at like 3.9. Everyone's giving it 4 stars. That was when I really thought, is this wrestling thing passed me by or what?
No, it was. If you watch that match on its own as a standalone match, it was quite good. It was. It just didn't fit, and I think it didn't seem to be a theme to what they were going through.
2.25.
Yeah, that's fair, isn't it? Then we moved on to what I said. I think we were chatting yesterday with Neil, and I said I'm really looking forward to the Jericho Tanahashi because of the storytelling aspects of the match. And bloody hell, that's exactly what we got, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was just great. Jericho, I mean, everyone, we were talking yesterday about the New Japan AEW partnership. Jericho's a genius. He knew how to get everyone to care about this match, and it fully worked.
Yeah, it did. And I believe from after the show on the post-show press conference, Jericho was very much putting forward the fact that they have to put petty differences out the way, and AEW and New Japan needs to be working together, which I'm more than happy with. I was quite hopeful. I'd seen that Dragon Lee, or Ryu Lee as he's being called now, was wearing his Ring of Honor belt. I think Ring of Honor would be desperate for some sort of partnership. And as I've said time and time again, I am all up for as much cross promotion as possible. So let's hope there's good things in the pipeline there in terms of promotion for both AEW and ROH.
Yeah, with AEW, Danny, I mean, Kevin Kelly constantly mentioned it. What did he say? The forbidden, what was it? The forbidden door, the forbidden something remains shut or whatever. But the forbidden door remains shut. is what he said because that's what everyone was thinking. But let's not be stupid here. The AEW title was mentioned throughout the match. The match ends with Jericho stood over Tanahashi with the AEW belt raised
Yeah.
high. There's no way they're going to do that if there isn't some conversation going on. They just wouldn't do it. You know how petty New Japan can be with stuff like that. There's no way
I,
they do that.
I don't know, because they have done it in the past with the likes of the NWA, with ROH, with even with All Japan and Noah. So I do agree that I think there is conversations happening now, because it wouldn't be as pronounced as it currently is in the commentary. But they do mention other companies. They have had other companies' champions on the TV historically.
But New Japan view AEW as like they came and took all their guys, sort of thing. There was press conferences where reporters were told they weren't allowed to mention the name of AEW.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
So it's clearly gone from you're not even allowed to mention the name to you can have the heavyweight title belt on the show as you stand over one of our top guys. Do you know what I mean?
yeah.
So clearly something's changed. It's not going to
There's,
be
there's, there's
changing
definitely
like.
conversations being had.
Yeah, it'd be great if there was an invasion angle like we fancy booked yesterday, but realistically, that's not going to happen. It's going to be a slow burner that's going to take time, and eventually you will get there. You will have. I'm convinced you'll have it.
You see, there was only ever one invasion angle that was done well, and even that it still hurt one company, and that was the Ring of Honor and CZW.
Yeah,
They've had them before in Japan, where they've bought out companies. I think UWFI was one. That was what the original NWO angle was based on. There's, I don't think, I think a talent swap is preferred to me than an invasion angle,
yeah,
because all the time there's always someone that comes off worse. And the main thing about cross promotion is you're supposed to help each other.
yeah. It's like I'd like to see Osprey and Suzuki in AEW. Do you know what I mean? You could send Omega over to have a match with Ibushi in New Japan. It doesn't need to be like, it's New Japan versus AEW pay-per-view. Do you know what I mean? You can just have it where you, like you say, you lend talent. Like with Ring of Honor, Osprey was with New Japan, and I think he went over. Did he main event Death Before Dishonor against Jay Lethal last year, the year before? So do you know what I mean? They can just do it for things like that.
And again, if you look at one of ROH's most famous matches, it was an old Dragon Gate match, the Dragon Gate 6-man, and that was 5 stars when they weren't giving out many 5 stars in the United States. So there's definitely benefits to it.
Yeah, so that match ends with Jericho beating Tanahashi. We've already gone through the Okada Naito match where Naito becomes the first double champion in what we both said was a great match, the match of the weekend, undoubtedly. But, so that's pretty much where we're at the end, Danny. So now I want to ask you, right? We had this all booked, pretty much. We was supposed to be going. Now it's finished. How do you feel about not going? Are you gutted that you missed it? I don't know. I want to ask you how you feel about it first.
No, I'm not gutted I missed it. I thought it would be.
Yeah.
The show hasn't. The show overall hasn't lived up to expectations. But not only that, I think for personal reasons as well, which I really want to go into that. Things. I've enjoyed watching it here. I'm looking forward that I'm going to WrestleMania. The thing is with WrestleMania is the week building up to Mania is just the best. It's not about actually going to the event at WrestleMania itself, but it's going to the indie shows. It's seeing everyone. It's doing different events, speaking tours. All the whole environment. It's like I think I've explained it previously as going away on a football away day for a week. That's how it feels. With Japan, not sure whether I've enjoyed it as in the same way that I would. I definitely want to do it. But I think next time, much better planning is needed.
Yeah, I think we'd have to book it when we know now what the flight prices are going to be. So I think you've got to say if the flights go to a certain price, you book it that day. Sort of like we did with Tampa. We didn't beat around the bush. We knew
Yeah.
that was a good price for the flight. Let's get it booked. But do you know what you mean? It's like for us, Wrestle Kingdom's that close to WrestleMania. It's only like a 10-week change. It's straight after Christmas, which is, do you know what I mean? For me, I'm self-employed, so I don't get to work that much over Christmas as much as I'd like to. So it does cause like a little bit of an issue to get over there. I would like to go 1 year, but I think we'd be able to give more of it. For all we know, I mean, Neil's been, and he says that like there's wrestling shows for days before. So do you know what I mean? We would have been at the old
Yeah.
Japan shows, but it's
No,
just one of them we won't know till we go, will we? But
no, that's it. But like I've watched Zero 1 years ago. Watched Noah years ago. I've watched All Japan and Noah a little bit, but just 2 or 3 matches over the course of the last 6 months. Um, so whereas if I go to WrestleCon Super Show, I know everyone on the card. If I go to Bloodsport, I know everyone on the card. There's a familiarity there that's not there with Japan.
yeah,
Of course, there wouldn't be. I mean, it's hard. It was hard enough to get into New Japan as a fan before New Japan World was launched and things like that. You were basically relying on people uploading links to secure forums, or you were looking at people who had stored them on cloud storage devices that weren't at that time very good. There could be viruses locked up in them all. It wasn't easy to know the Japanese, just the New Japan scene. So to know every little bit about every little smaller promotion in Japan, which there's loads, then it becomes a problem.
yeah, I know what you mean. I don't know. For me as well, like we were saying last night, we live in the UK. It's pretty much cold all year round. So if we're spending thousands of pounds to go away, I'd like it to be somewhere hot. Do you know what I'm saying? Like Tampa, it's going to be warm. Whereas New York, it was like being at home, weren't it, last year in New York? I mean, I looked at
Tough,
Tokyo, it was like
fucking
8
stars on
degrees.
New York.
Yeah, I know, I know. I think if there's ever another WrestleMania in New York, I might go to Wrestle Kingdom that year. But
Yeah, I think that's probably a consideration. But overall, the course of the 2 days, I've really enjoyed having it there to watch. It could have been better for me. However, it's Wrestle Kingdom. It's closed off your Christmas period, and everyone's now got to go back to work and be miserable again and what have you. But I've got a little bit more misery stocked up when Everton play Liverpool this afternoon in the FA Cup.
yeah, no, I mean, I was talking about going around to watch it, and I said, because obviously Amelia hates football, and I said, well, I'm going to watch Middlesbrough Tottenham at 1:30, but I also want to watch Liverpool Everton, and Amelia's like, two? I said, don't worry. I said, I'll probably have the Liverpool Everton game turned off after 20 minutes, so really it's just one. Hopefully I'm wrong, but
Well, there we go. What overall 2 days? Take your take your hat off and say, well, is this kind of a transition because wrestling's going through a weird period at the moment. Whereas this would have been smashed out the park 2 years ago. This hasn't been, and I think it's got to do with the scene that's going on at the moment. The people who are watching AEW, a lot of them would have been watching New Japan last year because they were there. So all the guys from there would have been in it, and a lot more guys too, like the likes of Chucky Taylor and Trent Beretta. They would have been in and around the card, and especially the next night at Kurokin. It's a change of format with the 2 nights. You know what do you expect to see? Is it how you expected to see it, or is it
no.
hugely different to what you were?
It was in my head. I was disappointed. I'm gonna be
Yeah,
honest. Like I loved Okada and Naito, but I expected to love Okada and Naito. Like I was sat watching Power Struggle, Danny. Yeah, And I remember messaging you like, oh, they've announced Hiromu versus Osprey. They're doing like these matches leading up to the next night. They're doing this match. Shibata just came back, and I'm thinking, oh, why? Out of all the years to have said we're going to go to Wrestle Kingdom to not go, why does it have to be this year? Because it's going to be amazing. And it wasn't. It wasn't. Do you know what I mean? First time I was watching New Japan, might think, yeah, it was amazing. But for me, there was one incredible match, two very good to excellent matches, and the rest, I won't be able to remember any of them in a few weeks. So I think if you're saying, oh, for a standalone Wrestle Kingdom, I'd expect that. But for 2 nights, I don't know, it's sort of like the Monday Night Raw effect. I remember when Raw was 2 hours, Danny, and it went to 3. I remember seeing the reaction, oh, this is great. We get to get an extra hour of wrestling on a Monday night. They're going to use this time to like make everything a lot better. But they didn't. They just used that time to fill time, which is sort of what I felt they did. Like, we did not need to see 2 Jay White single matches. We didn't. We didn't need to see 2 Kota Ibushi single matches. We needed to see 1 Shingo match, 1 Suzuki match, 1 Ishii match. I think, forget the Bullet Club guys and the AEW guys, yeah. They've been the staple of New Japan for certainly the last 18 months. They've been the ones having the great matches on the show. Most of the majority, if not every New Japan match that was great last year that didn't involve Okada and Ospreay, it had Shingo and Ishii in it. Those two are the workhorses of New Japan, and they should have been, I think, they should have had singles matches on the show. It was the wrong decision. I didn't want to see 2 Jay White matches. But
that's fair. That's fair. So that's your final thoughts on the situation.
The only thing I remember, Danny, is Okada.
Here's your final thoughts.
Okada Naito was great. That's my takeaway. It's put me in a positive mood leaving the weekend. So at least there was that.
Well, I'd suggest anyone, I've reposted on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram to have a look at Beyond Gorilla's accounts. Photographer based over in England, and they've put a great picture of Jushin Thunder Liger for his retirement up. Liger final, it's tagged us, and it's a black and white. One side is colour, one side is black and white, and it's Liger in full gear looking out of a window. I think it's at York Hall. And then Liger in black and white looking out the window without his mask on. And it's an appreciation of his career. And I think that's probably the best way to sign off tonight, by saying thank you to Jushin Thunder Liger, who's been a staple of my fandom, wrestling fandom for 30 years, from when I first saw him in WCW, not quite understanding the gimmick, learning more about it as I grew older, seeing him in Japan, learning more about him in All Japan and New Japan, and then, actually being able to see him at a lot of shows in England. I had the chance to meet him and talk to him very, very briefly. And it's been a wonderful ride, and one of my favourite wrestlers that I will always remember. So I think we should probably best signing off by wishing all the best to Jushin Thunder Liger. Rest easy, brother.
燃やせ怒りを燃やせつかめつかめ自由をつかめ邪悪な黒雲地上包み込む瓦礫の中からよみがえる呪いの邪神閉じ込めた太鼓